It's a good cop and a bad cop, because this is what we're talking about. Oh, there are good cops and there are bad cops. And help us understand how you see it, not how it is out in the world. This is just how Abigail sees it.
Some people would say that no cops are good or anything like that, which I don't agree with in a sense. I think that a good cop is somebody that doesn't use their biases, to use the stereotypes towards people and always gives people the benefit of the doubt and is truly doing this for the community. A bad cop is just somebody that uses stereotypes and uses their power and overuses it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Uses their power, abuses their power. Okay.
I was just going to say a bad cop abuses the power that they have. They're very authoritative sometimes. But a good cop would be someone who's a cop for the right reasons. They want to help their community and they just want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And like Abigail said, not having using their biases against people.
So could the people who really are there to want to help people, can they sometimes just be really authoritarian? Sometimes that happens. Sometimes that's a good thing for them to do that.
I feel sometimes, depending on the situation, they might.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel sometimes everybody has good or bad days, no matter what job they have too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like me in here sometimes. This is a crowd of people, and sometimes I just got to yell at you. For example, to close your computers. Sometimes I just got to do that. But I do it kindly there. But sometimes, if somebody doesn't respond, and then I'm going to yell. I'm going to raise my voice. And then if they don't respond, I'm going to raise my voice a little more. And then at some point, I'm going to be a dick. And you're going to be like, oh, why do you have to be a dick? I'm like, well, did you not watch what was happening here? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't I be? Anyway, good cop and a bad cop. What do you like?
For the most part, good cops are there they have good motivations behind what they're trying to do. I mean, they have a job and they have to do it, but they're not going to go above and beyond to abuse their power. And I think that there's certainly people that I know that I would say are bad cops or just necessarily aren't the right type of person to be a cop.
Mm-hmm.
That do take that.
So personally people who who are cops, and
and
you're just nah, man, nah.
I know there's definitely people I can think of off the top of my head that not necessarily are a bad cop, but they aren't the right type of person to be a cop, so they shouldn't be given that level of power over other people. So you feel here are some people with certain personality characteristics that you're nah, man. Do you want to add to that? What would your dad say? He must have talked about this.
I mean, he's told me about some coworkers that were assholes, but there are people who should definitely not be a cop. And I also think too, there's some people who go into it thinking it's going to be so great and wonderful, or they might get too scared sometimes. So being a bad cop can even just be, oh my gosh, now I'm in this, I'm terrified and I don't want to go on calls, and just anxious too.
My experience of policing is very much that. My experience of police officers is that they know who to the people they want to work with and the people they don't want to work with. And you don't want to work with the person, for example, who raises the stakes. I was doing a ride along and we roll up to this one call, and the cop I'm with, I'm sitting in the front seat next to him. We pull up to the call and he's like, shit, so-and-so's here. Let's just say Mark. I know what this call is. I know what it's going to be. I know this person. We get a call from them about once every couple months. I know exactly what's coming down. And Mark's going to ensure that it's much more likely that it goes south. And we're going to end up arresting someone, and you and I are going to be going back to the station with someone in the back seat in handcuffs. And it doesn't have to be that way. But this guy's made it more likely that it is, right? One thing to think about here, there are about 950,000, depends on how you cut it. So somewhere between, I say it's 900,000 to 1 million sworn law enforcement officers in the United States. So I say 950. And that's a lot of people. So when you want to say, for example, all cops are bad or all whatever, it's you're talking about 950,000 people. Come on, man. All fraternity guys are assholes. There's a lot of fraternity men here. They're not all assholes. You know what I mean? All Arabs, all Muslims, all Christians, all Jews, all black people, all white people, all college professors. these are the three types of cops. This is me. I'm generalizing. I'm walking in the generalization circle again, okay? Social workers with guns. By the way, I say the same thing about people in the military. They want to protect people, right? Did your dad, why was he, which one is your dad?
My dad started out as I needed a job, so he came out of the Army and said, well, his dad was chief of police, and he's like, I already know some of the things that go on, so might as well just do this.
So he started as a worker.
Yeah, started as a worker, but I feel like once he got into it, then he became the social worker with guns and wanted
More
to
of a
help.
social worker.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Bro, how about you?
I'd say he was probably like a social worker with a gun. I mean, he knew he always wanted to be a police officer. He actually started as a municipal cop in State College, and then...
Is this your dad?
Yeah, my dad.
Yeah, and your brothers?
My brother started as, he was an agent with the FBI, actually, and then once he got accepted to the State Police Academy, that was what he transitioned to.
And Abigail, what's your gut? Like, what are most cops are which category? What's your gut?
I would say 2.
What's that?
2.
2? Number 2?
Workers.
Workers, just a job? So many people who become bullies, they start out as bullies because they feel, number one, so strong. Man, they want to protect. Want to go off to these places and stop bad things from happening to innocent people. And so often, so many police, it's like this idea, especially in their communities, they just say, this is wrong. It shouldn't be happening. I want to fix it. I want to stop it. I want to do something about it. We didn't define it legally, but a good cop is one that really tries to stick to the rules and tries to understand their biases. I'm going to change from what the three of you said. For me, it's you never know what your biases are, right? I don't know my biases, but I work really hard to understand what they are and try to not allow them to infect or be part of my teaching so that I can teach through them. And a good cop would be a cop that really tries to do that. You try to do the right thing, knowing that you will not always do the right thing. And when you do the wrong thing, you really try to learn from it. That's, to me, is a good cop. And a bad cop is an ignorant, kind of narrow-minded, not interested in growing and learning, and just doing the job and going home and not really caring about their own lives, betterment of themselves and the betterment of the community. And a really bad cop is the one that breaks the rules. And a really, really bad cop is the cop that supports other police officers breaking the rules. That's the worst kind of cop. You have a special obligation because you're given a gun, you're given authority, and it's your job to apply the laws of the land. And you know that there's so much flexibility in which you can apply or not apply the laws of the land. That you have a special obligation to say, I got to really try to be as fair as I possibly can on this. And that's the problem with police, right? That you really you're held to a higher standard, and in fact, you should be held to a higher standard because that's the nature of policing. But the rest of us, of course, then have to understand where our role comes in. And that's where I think we've sort of gotten off tip.